Why, hey everybody, welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel, my pronouns are he, him, I write for the Chicago Reader, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. My pronouns are he, him.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and am a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics. Thank you for the salute.
Yeah.
Phenomena.
Before we get into the movies tonight, Evan, you have an announcement, sort of.
Yes, I do. I just wanted to share that I was recently on my friend's podcast. My dear friend Kelly from high school, she co-hosts a podcast called Seeing Red, which is a podcast that answers the age-old millennial question, was the book really better than the movie? So, Seeing Red as in book reading.
Yeah. And I'm assuming dear friend is in not a deer, but a DEAR friend.
Yes, correct.
Right. That'd be amazing.
Important distinction.
If one, you had a friend who was a deer and also it read books and saw movies. That would be crazy.
That would be amazing. Yes.
I want to know that, dear.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say that I was on the show. We talked about M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin, compared it to the book, Cabin at the End of the World. It was a very fun discussion, and for folks that read and watch movies, I highly recommend the show. It is very spiritually similar to our show in that they delve into all kinds of spoilers, so I felt right at home on their show.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to throw in my 2 cents real quick. Cabin at the End of the World. Is that what you said?
Yes.
That's a much better title than Knock at the Cabin. Okay.
It is.
Moving on to what we're doing this week. We've got 2 movies on the docket. Ye Old You Can Live Forever. And that's not, it's You Can Live Forever, not Ye Old You Can Live Forever. I just realized that's kind of how it sounds. Fucking dope. And of course, the big movie of the week, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So first, let's get into the movie I haven't seen because life got in the way. You Can Live Forever, written and directed by Sarah Watts and Mark Slutsky, starring Anwin Driscoll and June Laporte. Here is your 1-sentence summary. I'm going to assume that it's not a run-on sentence, but here we go. When lesbian teen Jamie is sent to live in a Jehovah's Witness community, she falls hard for a devout witness girl, and the two embark on an intense affair with consequences that will reshape the rest of their lives. I mean, that sounds like every movie about illicit, love, but as far as log lines go. But I didn't see this because, like I said, life got in the way. Both Megan and Evan saw it. So why don't you two fill me in and our listeners? Yeah.
Sure. I'll just get it right out of the way in front with this dumb tangent. Every time I hear the title for this movie, You Can Live Forever, all I can think of is Freddie Mercury saying, "Who wants to live forever?" Okay, moving on.
Good song, though.
It is a good song. I liked this movie. It feels kind of like a slight film about young love, also about people kind of trying to exist in a very religious community. I think one of the things that surprised me about it was that the people's in the community's reaction was not, it was like a quiet prejudice. Like in a way that wasn't like filled with like people condemning them and telling them they're going to go to hell, but it was just like, we really are angry about this in a quiet kind of way. So that kind of surprised me. I think mainly because I didn't really know much going into this about the Jehovah's Witness community. And so I kind of like expected people to be very much fire and brimstone about this whole situation I don't know why, but that was just my expectation. But I think the performances in this, I thought were really good. I liked the cinematography, and I think the movie for me did a good job of kind of developing their relationship and kind of showing how it expanded the more the time that they spent with each other. But, very early on when these two meet each other, you can sense the kind of instant connection, the flirtation, but you can see how it builds as their friendship and their romantic feelings builds. So overall, I dug this.
Yeah, I thought this was really great. I'm kind of not sure why you had such a tentative nature to your liking, Evan. You're like, I liked this. And
I think it's because I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I also couldn't think of anything that was really bothering me that I thought, this is really preventing me from loving this.
Got it. That's totally fair. Yeah, no, I thought this was fantastic. I also loved the performances, and yeah, just to flesh out the plot a little bit more, and I'll then say what I really, really particularly liked about it. Yeah, I mean the plot is basically it. Like there's not a lot to it plot wise. I mean, Jamie goes to live with her aunt and uncle. Because her father died and her mother has kind of a breakdown, that's what they call it, from that. And so she goes to live with them and for a little bit, and she hangs out with her friend who's a black guy, and I love their friendship, and they play video games together, and they smoke weed, and they just talk, and it's really a nice kind of relaxed relationship. And then when she meets Marika, is it Marika? Yeah.
Marika.
They have this instant, like you said, connection, which is very palpable. And Marika is very, very into being a Jehovah's Witness, whereas Jamie is not at all. She doesn't believe in it. She's not into it. But she wants to keep hanging out with Marika. So she keeps they keep doing sleepovers, and they do the kind of, because one of the things you have to do is you have to advertise and proselytize. And so they go door to door, but because this is in Canada and it's in a French speaking area, Jamie doesn't speak French very well. So Marika does the talking, and that's how they spend a lot of time together. They also kind of go hiking and spend time alone. But as they spend more and more time alone, and it's very clear the two of them have this instant connection and instant attraction, because even from the first, I don't know if it's it is the first night. The first night that they have a sleepover, Marika puts her arms around Jamie when they're lying in bed. And so immediately there's this, oh my God, why can't I think of words? Words are hard. There's this, when you're touchy with someone, oh my God, what is my problem? What's the word when you touch someone?
Embrace?
No, when you're affectionate. That's
Yes, affectionate.
Affectionate.
I was also searching for
thought you
it.
were
Sorry,
talking about
listeners.
the
It's late.
physical
Thank you.
act
Yeah,
of
no, what
embracing
is wrong
someone.
with, no, Dave, you had it better. I don't know what's wrong with me. And, but anyway, so she's clearly affectionate with her right away. But when Jamie kind of goes in to be affectionate at times, sometimes Marika pulls away because clearly she's got some internalized, queer phobia. But and then as they're spending so much time together, other people are noticing, and then it's when they skip school one day and they're making out in a car, and they're walking around town, and they kiss, and it's a very brief moment where they kiss outside of a store, and Jamie's uncle sees, and he goes and tells Marika's father, who is the head pastor. And then the next time at the next Bible meeting, the next meeting that they go to, he tells her that she should come, meaning Jamie, to the meeting. And then that's when it's announced that Marika is engaged to be married. And
What?
yeah,
it's cruel.
Yeah,
it's
it's
super
so
cruel.
awful. So there's another time earlier where they go on a double date, and it's really not a double date. It's basically so Marika and Jamie can date each other. But so after this announcement of the engagement, and Jamie runs out, and then she's furious, of course, and then she goes to Marika's house, and she's like, "What are you doing? Are they making you do this? What's happening?" And Marika's like, "No, this is my idea, because we need to be together in the after, so the whole thing about Jehovah's Witnesses, if you don't know, is that they believe in this apocalyptic thing where the system is going to renew and everybody who is dead is going to come back to life and everything's going to be paradise and there's not going to be any war or famine or anything like that. And so Marika believes this. She's full in, and she believes that if she doesn't get married to a dude, that's the only way to salvation, and that's the only way that her and Jamie can be together in the new system, in the paradise life. And so, and I'm watching this scene and like I'm so like not into organized religion, but I'm watching this scene and my heart is breaking because I'm like, oh my God, this girl really truly believes this. And it's so sad because this is her solution so they can be together, even though that's, not the solution.
That's antithetical to them being together.
Right,
There's no way they're going to be together.
But she really believes this, and Jamie knows that. And so it's like poor Jamie, and also poor Marika too. But I love what you're saying though, Evan, about how you said that there's like a subtlety to like the discrimination, because on the flip side, I was surprised by Jamie's aunt, because as she's driving, so Jamie's mom has been like, hey, I'm feeling better, come back home. But Jamie stays longer because of Marika. And then when her aunt is driving her to like the train station or the bus station or whatever to go back home, she's like, you're not leaving because like, you think I hate you or anything. And then when she's, when Jamie's talking about how, they're talking and the aunt is like, sometimes, kids are confused. And Jamie's like, I'm not confused. And she's talking about being gay. And her aunt is like, I know, but she's confused, meaning Marika. And I was like, oh my God, the aunt gets it. The aunt gets it. And then Jamie is like, are you going to pretend I'm dead too? Because that's what they do to people who leave the faith. And she's like, no, I would never do that. And like, and it's like this sweet moment where it's like, yes, she's still very devout and religious, but she's like, no, you're my niece and I love you and I support you and you're gay and I still love you. And I was like sobbing. I was like, oh my God, this is so nice.
It was very pleasantly surprising to have her aunt say to her, I love you no matter what.
Yes. I know. It's so nice. Oh.
Just seeing her, because during the film, it's really, the aunt is a little bit of a cipher at points where you think like, you can see the wheels turning in her mind and that she's having thoughts that she's not necessarily vocalizing, but you kind of just assume like, oh, because she's devout, her husband is kind of like, I don't know whether they call him like a pastor's assistant or something. Like he's like one of the higher ranking people there. You just assume, okay, well, the aunt is judging her too.
Right.
Not that she still loves her, no matter what.
No, it was such a pleasant surprise. It was and I think it's done in such an understated, subtle way that felt really authentic and realistic. And I love that. And then I really want to know what you think about the scene at the very end. So Jamie leaves, and then we fast forward like 4 years later where Jamie's in her final year of college and she's going to visit her aunt and uncle, and look who's there to pick her up from the bus station but Marika, who's got a baby now. And I want to know what you think about the ending.
It was certainly interesting because when she first was there, Marika was first arriving to pick her up, I thought, oh gosh, this is like, and she's there and she's like, oh, look at my baby. And I was just thinking, oh, this is just so cruel. Like on Marika's part, I know she thinks she's like doing a nice thing, but it's like mean to be like, look at my new life. Look how whatever I am. And hearing that, Marika has all these postcards that she took from the aunt about, Jamie's, backpacking in Europe, I thought, okay, this is starting to come off a little stalkery and weird. And then when we get to the point where they're just sitting there in the car, and Dave, there's an earlier scene in the film where Jamie tries to get out of the car and Marika like blocks her hand from releasing the seatbelt, and they kind of have like an extra moment together. And they're sitting there talking, and then Jamie gets ready to leave and Marika does it again and blocks her hand from leaving. And she looks at Marika and is honestly asks her like, are you happy? And she shakes her head no, and kind of like, you want to get out of here. And we're kind of like left in this moment where it seems like Maybe they're getting the fuck out of Dodge. Maybe they're just getting in the car and they're just driving away and they're leaving behind this life and starting some new life. But I liked that we're kind of like, this is a time where I was not upset about ambiguity in the ending. I was fine with it. What about you? What'd you think?
Yeah, I didn't think about them getting out of there and like running away together, even though that would have been amazing. But although Jamie does have a girlfriend or somebody she's hooking up with, maybe not a girlfriend, but somebody she's hooking up with back in college. But yeah, but it definitely, I also like the ambiguity of it, but it's very clear because like when the backpacking story, because they had talked about going to Europe together and Jamie kept saying like, you should come with me. We should go backpacking together. And then when they're talking about the backpacking in the car, fast forwarded, and she's like, you should have been there with me. And I'm like, oh, and I'm crying again. It's so sad. But like, yeah, I didn't get the sense that it was like, you know, that they were going to run away together. But at the same time, it's very clear that neither of them is going to forget the other. Like, it's very clear that they're still very much in their feelings, still very much in that space, that this was an extremely special bond and connection and love between the two. So I kind of got the sense that it was not necessarily that Marika was going to leave her life behind, although awesome if she did, she should, so she can be gay and in love and all that awesomeness. I got it more, though, that she was like, I haven't forgotten you. Even though I'm married, even though I have a kid, I haven't moved on. I'm still here with you. And so either way, it was like such a touching ending.
Well, thank you for spoiler piecing me into wanting to see it, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, I had wanted to see it before.
It's really good. It's really good. I was so pleasantly surprised at how good it was.
Were you worried that it was going? Why were you worried that it was going to be not good?
Well, I mean, religious stories involving queer people are usually horrific tragedies.
That's true.
And I mean, too many. So what's interesting about this is reading the behind the scenes of this. Sarah Watts, the co-director and writer, she grew up in a Jehovah's Witness community. And so this is her, I don't know if this is her story, but this is her experience. And she said that she had never seen herself on screen in a movie. And in the 90s, this is set in the 90s. And in the 90s, she had been saving up money to go to Europe, but instead she flew to where Bound by the Wachowskis was playing so she could see Bound on the big screen because she hadn't, she wanted to see a queer film. And I was like, that's amazing. But yeah, so I was expecting a lot of tragedy, a lot of horror show things happening. And it wasn't that. I mean, it's still sad. It's still,
Yeah.
there's still
Okay.
oppression, but yeah. But it was done in a very, very nuanced way.
Okay. Well, then, shall we move on to Volume 2 of Spoiler Piece tonight and cover Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy? The final question mark film in the Guardians of the Galaxy saga, although it does say at the end, Star-Lord will return, or whatever it says.
That is what it says.
James
is-
Gunn will not.
James
That
Gunn
is
will
correct.
not. And I think, I'm not sure, because I didn't clock it and it didn't occur to me to break out my stopwatch, but this might be the Guardians of the Galaxy movie with the least Peter Quill. And I think based on that alone, it's probably the best. But because I have just come to really dislike Chris Pratt's screen presence in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't really know why. He's fucking everywhere and he does the same thing every time and it's starting to piss me off. That could be because the Marvel Universe is so ubiquitous that you can't escape that particular iteration of his persona / character, but I don't know. That being said, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, let me just get it out there, kids. It ain't for the faint of heart. As far as
That is
PG...
true.
Yeah.
Does everyone die?
No.
No.
But several of the characters are tortured on screen more than once.
Ooh.
So this is Evan. So you don't really know much about this because Evan was not able to make the screening. Let me give you the 10-cent tour,
Sure.
5-cent tour.
Got to pay
So
extra for the 10-cent tour.
Yeah. This is. I see what you did there. This is basically the Rocket Raccoon story, volume 3. And the only reason the Guardians are involved in it is to prevent him from being kidnapped by, what's Will Poulter's name? Something or other, Warlock?
He's the
Adam
warlock, but he's not the main villain.
Right. The main villain is the High. What is he called, Megan? The High.
Oh,
High.
Evolutionary.
Yes.
The High
I was going to say
Evolutionary.
executioner, but that's wrong. Yes. No, it's
Yeah.
the high evolutionary. Yeah. So, yeah.
He's
Because
this-
Warlock is trying to get him he's trying to
To
kidnap
the
him to
high
get the high
yeah.
evolutionary. Yeah.
And Warlock is a one of the gold people from the last Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever they're called. But they're kind of they're all kind of secondary villains. The High Evolutionary is kind of like if Thanos wanted to dissect people and put them back together instead of snap them out of existence. Is that? I don't know.
I would
That's
say
basically-
I would say that's accurate. The only thing I would change or add is I would say animals and children are his
Right.
are his forte.
Ooh.
I will say you don't see any children get the scalpel treatment on screen,
No, you don't.
but you do see them in cages, which I think is at least the third, maybe only the second. I'm not sure. Marvel movie to feature children in cages. If anybody remembers Thor, or whatever the fucking third Thor movie was called.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's a whole, that's like a big part of that movie. Anyway, that just happens to kind of happen here in Guardians of the Galaxy. You just see the kids in cages at the end, and it turns out they're all very sweet. And for some reason, Drax can communicate with them. Who knows? But the High Evolutionary is in the business of trying to create a perfect, a utopia, basically, which he calls Counter Earth, which we've heard of in other movies, right? They've mentioned Counter Earth. But this is the first time we see it, which is this weird hodgepodge of animals bred with humans. Kind of imagine the island of Dr. Moreau, except in space.
Yep.
You know?
Ooh, that sounds creepy.
Yeah, it's totally
Sure
creepy.
is.
And the High Evolutionary has been doing that. However long he's been alive, he has been doing this. And Rocket was just a raccoon, a baby raccoon living with other raccoons. I mean, the first image you see in this movie, I think, is a hand reaching toward a baby raccoon. And it's just, and the raccoon is terrified. And it's like, well, okay, this is Rocket's story, because otherwise, why would we be seeing this? And then you cut to the present day. The Guardians are attacked by the Warlock, who's trying to get Rocket back to the High Evolutionary. And when they're trying to perform, I guess, the Marvel Universe equivalent of CPR, they realize that Rocket's heart has a kill switch on it because he's essentially IP owned by the High Evolutionary. And so the Guardians, with an amnesiac, or let's just say younger, I guess she's technically supposed to be a younger Gamora meeting Star-Lord. I don't know exactly how she got snapped back into existence. I don't remember. But
She's an alternate version.
she's an alt version. There you go. There's an excuse for everything, or an underlying theory or a reason, whatever you want to say.
But you are right. She's an alternate version, but also like a younger version. So it's like both.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, so she has no inkling toward being the kind of person that she was when Thanos threw her into like the pit of despair or whatever the fuck it's called.
The pit of despair.
I know. The only thing I could think of was fucking Princess Bride. So all the Guardians, and I guess Nebula's now a Guardian, which I didn't realize. Groot's a full-grown tree, and he can hide weapons, as it turns out, in his branches and things like that. They go. I don't really understand exactly. They're trying to find this file on this in this part of the galaxy where this company is made up of. It looks like imagine if a bureaucratic sort of office with lots of administrators was designed by David Cronenberg.
That sounds like a hellscape.
That's what that's what it looks like. The place they go looks like it came from the imagination of David Cronenberg and whoever his most trusted production designer is. And
You're not wrong.
yeah, they steal this file to find, to see if they can find like a code that they can plug into Rocket's heart to dismantle the kill switch, which they ultimately do. But the entire time this is happening, you're going back and forth between that mission and Rocket's backstory, which is, I can't believe I'm going to say this, one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen in a major motion picture.
Absolutely.
I've read, I just don't understand. There seem to be, the reviews for this movie have been largely positive from what I've read, even from big swinging dick critics at the, fancy places. Well, like the New York Times and whatever. The reviewer from the New York Times, I don't remember who wrote it, didn't like this. But it seems like a lot of the people who don't like this seem to think that the movie is sort of reveling in animal torture, which I don't.
Oh, it's not.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think this movie has a lot of dimensions, but one of them is animal testing and animal cruelty bad.
Yeah.
And in case you didn't realize it, we're just going to hit you over the head with it over and over and over and over. Because Rocket, when he's little, befriends a rabbit who's got like metal spider arms. I don't know exactly how. And she names herself Floor because she sits on the floor. And then there's this walrus who's in a wheelchair. And then there is Linda Cardellini, who's an otter with, arms and legs that are also metal.
Yeah, metal arms, like clips almost.
Oh, so
Yeah.
we have Linda Cardellini playing a second character in the Marvel Universe, eh?
Yeah. And so the whole gist of the High Evolutionary is he's going to manufacture the perfect creature, and he's going to populate Counter Earth, and that's going to be the perfect planet. And what he realizes when Rocket's young is that Rocket is smarter than he is. And I don't remember exactly why he comes and Rocket figures out that if you do this thing for this particular kind of evolutionary thing they're trying to fast forward, the problem that the High Evolutionaries had with it is that all of the monsters come out really aggressive and angry. And Rocket's like, oh, well, the ventilation system isn't working the right way. And so they do that, and it turns out to be correct. And he's like, how do you know that? I created you. And the High Evolutionary, who's already a psycho, goes. I mean, it's one of the most, and it's a good performance. I mean this as a compliment. It's one of the most unhinged performances I've seen of a movie villain. I mean, it's unreal. The High Evolutionary is genuinely frightening just from the way he gets in your face. Mm-hmm. And he's not like I'll smash you into a million pieces kind of guy. He's like he's like an, imagine, I'm pointing a finger here. You can't see it, but I'm raising it up to the ceiling. So you know that it's a mind person instead of a body person.
Well, I have to interject. What's really
Please do.
terrifying is his just absolute cruelty, just how callous he is, because when he's showing Rocket, as you're seeing these flashbacks, he's showing Rocket his evolutionary steps, and Rocket and his three friends keep thinking they're going to go to the new world. They're going to live, and they're going to see the sky, and they're going to have this paradise existence. And Rocket realizes that's not what's going to happen, because as soon as there's a mistake, quote unquote, he incinerates people. And it's appalling. So anyway, sorry. I had to interject on that because, he is in your face and really vicious and full of rage, but he's also just so he has no regard for life at all.
Right. Yeah, it's really something. I mean, I'd call it nihilism, but it's not really,
Kind of is, but not really.
It kind of is. Yeah, it's nihilistic in the sense that, basically nothing has any meaning, but he's trying to find meaning. So it's weird. I don't know how to describe it, but there will say nihilism that isn't nihilism. And so what eventually happens is when Rocket realizes that, they're going to be incinerated, he goes to his three friends, and they're all kept in like cages 2 by 2. So he's in a cage with Floor, and I don't remember what the walrus's name is, but Linda Cardellini's name is Lila, I think. They all name themselves in a very cute, moment, because Rocket's like, well, I'm going to learn how to build rockets, and I'm going to like explore the universe. And so I'm going to call myself Rocket. And anyway, the High Evolutionary comes in there to get Rocket, and Rocket, tries to defend himself. And no, he takes Lila out of the cage, and the High Evolutionary shoots Lila in the back. That's what it is. And she dies right in front of Rocket. And then Bradley Cooper, as a raccoon, lets out this guttural. I've never really heard a scream of existential pain like this. Certainly not in a fucking $250 million action movie about talking animals. I mean, it's really something. And so he picks up a gun and starts firing at these other people. I don't know how the gun gets there. I guess he grabs the Evolutionary's gun, but he starts firing at a bunch of people and shoots at people, and they return fire, and they kill his other two friends. So Rocket loses his mind and attacks the High Evolutionary and basically tears his face off. Like, you can tell they don't really show that, but you can tell that's what Rocket is doing, because in the present day stuff in the movie, Peter Quill says this, the High Evolutionary has this face that's kind of like RoboCop, after you take his mask off. And that's a really good description of it. Although I think he left Earth before 1987, so I'm not sure how he would have seen RoboCop, but okay. And I mean, that's the part of the movie that's the most compelling. I think that Drax and Mantis, I've always liked Mantis. I just think that Palm, I can't remember her last name, it's long. Clementif. I think that she's great as Mantis, and I'm kind of neither here nor there on Dave Bautista, but I like the character of Drax and how he doesn't understand, sarcasm or figurative speech or anything like that. And there's actually a really sad moment when Mantis and Nebula are having an argument about how stupid Drax is, because she's had enough. She's like, he's stupid. Why do we have to pretend that, and you can see that Drax's feelings are actually getting hurt. And he says to Mantis, is that what you think of me? Do you think I'm stupid? And she looks at him and she just says, yes. And then she like does that thing where, she touches and she's like, forget this conversation. And then he's, but it's like, that's sad. Nebula talking about how her eyeballs are ripped out is sad. I mean, it's just like some of the shit is just sad, And then you've got Star-Lord being a doofus. Although he does have a good plan to go find the High Evolutionary and, save everybody. But at the same time,
I think this is the least doofus he's ever been.
Well,
I have to say that because I do.
I just mean the characters. I don't. I like the first movie because I think it was just like, for me anyway, as somebody who doesn't really follow these movies very closely, very fresh and very funny and irreverent, and he was goofy in that. And that's just kind of how I think of him. But yes, everything in this movie, I think this is kind of what you're saying, is more serious than the other Guardians movies, including Peter.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's trying to save Rocket, who's his best friend. He's also, I mean, when we see him the first time we see him in the movie, he's not working on Nowhere, which is the new community they're building. He's not working on it with everyone else. He's passed out drunk because he's in the throes of grief because of Gamora and losing her. So yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, even though, like, I agree with you on your characterization from the other films, but in this film, even he is sadder too, and like there's more gravitas going on just because of what he's dealing with. But you're right. Yeah, this is very sad for all of it.
And so, and of course, this is, I think this might have the biggest body count of the year, because at the, 2/3 of the way through the movie, the High Evolutionary discovers that his most recent Counter Earth, which I guess he's had dozens of them, is not working because Peter says, like, this is your perfect planet. People buying like octopuses selling meth to foxes on the street or whatever the two different kinds of animals they are. And then the High Evolutionary just destroys the planet and they all barely get out alive. Billions of, Dr. Moreau creatures dead. It's just fucking crazy. This is a crazy movie. Yeah. And when I say crazy, I don't mean it's all over the place, although by its nature, it kind of is all over the place. But it's just really, this movie has a much more serious story to tell than I think any of the other Marvel movies that I've seen. I haven't seen all of them, but I don't know. Megan, I've done a lot of talking. Please.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. And I loved this.
I loved it too. I should just throw that in case it sounds like I didn't. I do.
Yeah, I loved this. And that surprised the hell out of me. And not because I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, because I thought it was going to be enjoyable. I thought it was going to be kind of fun. I don't follow all of the news because I don't like, even though I do a spoiler show, I don't like knowing spoilers going in. So I don't follow all of the things, but apparently that if you do follow Marvel news, this is not a surprise that this is a very dark story because there had been a lot of hints and intimations that this was going to be a much darker story. And it is. It's brutal. For all the reasons that you said, Dave. But I loved it. I love a dark story. I love when things are grim. I love when things are intense. And I could not stop crying throughout this movie. I cried literally throughout the entire film. And, it's interesting because you said, Dave, I don't know if there's another Marvel film that's this, I can't remember the word you used, whether it's this dark or this emotional. And I feel like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever was trying to kind of be that because it's dealing with grief and it's dealing with how you handle grief. But for me on that film, and not that we need to compare, but I'm going to, for me, really only the last 5 minutes are when I kind of, lost it and, started crying a lot. This film, I'm crying nonstop because it's so tragic. And James Gunn said that when he signed on to do Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was reticent to do it because he wanted to really do it and do it right, he said that he was always looking forward to the third story to do Rocket's story because he felt that Rocket is kind of the crux of the whole thing because he's the saddest creature in the universe. And because he's a creature that's not supposed to exist, who hates that he exists and hates everybody and is incredibly lonely. And I think what's really sad too on top of it is that throughout the other Guardians movies, Rocket has always said whenever he's called a raccoon, he's like, I'm not a raccoon, not a raccoon. And we see right from the opening scene, like, no, he was just a regular raccoon who was tested on. And for someone who is a vegan and into animal rights, as I am, to see a mainstream film take such a staunch condemnation of animal testing and animal cruelty. I have never seen that in a mainstream film. Or I shouldn't say never, but I rarely see it in a mainstream film. And, it's interesting, Dave, that you said that you've heard and you've read reviews that talk about it wallowing in animal cruelty. I agree with you, and I could not disagree more with that perspective because that's why, even though this is extremely hard to watch, and I want to make no bones about it, it is hard to watch. They're brutal scenes. I will say, though, that this is what happens in our world. This is what happens to animals. And so to see such condemnation of that was kind of, in a weird way, nice for me because I'm like, yes, this is what happens. This is horrible. And there's really a humanization of life and of all these creatures. And when Rocket is eventually resuscitated, which he is, he doesn't just want to save his friends. He wants to save all of the other captured animals and children. And there's an interesting spot where the people who are in nowhere, who are trying to take in all of these refugee animals and children, said, I thought we were only taking the higher life forms. And someone else is like, yeah, me too. And it's like, no, it's not just the people who look like us, who are humanoids, who are the important ones. All of this life is important. And it's such a beautifully told way of that philosophy and of that story. And I think this balances the tones of humor and empathy and of pathos and sadness so incredibly well. And I was so shocked and so surprised by that, because usually when you have such jarring tones, it's just, you feel like you're bouncing all over the place. It doesn't work. This completely works here. And it works so well. And I loved this movie so much. I feel like I need to go back and reassess my earlier opinions of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, because as much as I liked them, I'm like, yeah, they're glorified music videos. And I don't think that that's true, because I think they're clearly better done, or there's more happening than what I had initially given them credit for. But yeah.
I'm going to break in and say that your feelings about Volume 2 will probably remain unchanged, having seen it again recently myself. Because I was like, this can't, I saw it, I don't know, I watched it maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't remember exactly, but I was like, this can't be as bad as I remember it being. Oh, it is. So.
I mean, I liked Guardians too when I saw it. And
you did?
I've seen it, I think, 2 or 3 times, and I've enjoyed it just as much each time.
Evan, I don't know you at all.
Well, I want to be clear. I like the second one too, but like I said, I think it's a glorified music video. That's not a bad thing to me. That's a fun time. But yeah, so I think you're both right, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe I'll disagree with you, Dave, when I rewatch it.
I think the thing that I didn't like about the second one was the first one felt like the first one felt like there were stakes, and the second one was just like, my dad's a celestial and I'm a half celestial and killed my mom.
Well, Yondu dies. There's stakes there.
That was sad.
Yeah.
It made me very sad.
Although I didn't
Sad-ish.
think that was actually that sad, because I think Yondu's not a great father, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
That's another conversation.
Sad-ish.
Gruff, but he does. He's a softie. I mean, definitely worth seeing. There was a episode of Marvel What If that's about Star-Lord that was a good one that I liked.
Well, Michael Rooker does show up in one scene.
He
in
does.
this.
Yeah. He does
And
make
I
a
don't-
cameo.
I don't know if they lifted him out of like a different performance or if he showed up to set one day and they stuck him in there. And then the guy with the teeth, whose name I can never remember,
Sean Gunn.
yes, Sean Gunn,
Draglin.
the director's brother.
Yeah.
He does the whistly stabby thing. In this.
Yeah, that's right. He did take that over. I've always liked him as a supporting character in these movies. He's kind of goofy and fun.
He also does the body for Rocket which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
But speaking of Rocket, just one more time, well, or maybe more than that, I have to say, Dave, I could not agree with you more about Bradley Cooper's guttural
yeah.
yell, primal scream. It's so good. Bradley Cooper, listen, I've always loved Bradley Cooper ever since Alias. He's amazing, but he's on another level here.
He is one of those actors that I have had a complete 180 on, because when I first saw him on Alias, I was like, this guy's an American Ray Winstone and younger.
Oh, he's not.
I just thought he was so fucking awful. And I just hated his character on that show. And it never
his
occurred to me
character
for a
was
moment
annoying
that
to
he
me.
might just be playing it really well.
I think
But
that
then
was it.
he's a lot of fun as the total dickhead in the movie with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers.
And then I can't even remember what it was where I saw him and I was like, oh, he's legitimately good. Oh, you know what it is? It's The Hangover. Because I was like, oh, say what you will about The Hangover, is problematic. He's a legitimately, he's well cast. He plays that part perfectly. He's got the charisma of a leading actor. And then he's great in the one where Jennifer Lawrence won the Academy Award.
Oh,
Silver
Silver
Linings-
Linings Playbook.
Yeah, Silver Linings Playbook. And every time I see him, I'm just like, God, this guy's really got it. What the fuck?
I love him in A Star
Yeah.
is Born.
See, I haven't seen that one. So,
Oh, That is when I was like, I always liked you, Bradley Cooper, and now you're taking it to another level.
Yeah.
And I think he's taking it to another level here too.
But I mean, this is some truly, I mean, I don't really know that we should differentiate voice work from other acting work. I guess you should, because of the physicality, especially when you find out that Sean Gunn plays the body of Rocket. But
well, I think he only plays the body like when he's with the other, I think, actors. So
yeah, I don't know the whole story. I do remember reading just recently that like Sean Gunn's the body of Rocket sometimes, motion capture. I don't know how this works.
Oh, maybe he is the motion capture. Anyway.
But I mean, Bradley Cooper's voice work in this is really, really great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has been in the other two as well. Rocket, it helps that Rocket's a great character.
Agreed.
But I just am imagining, somebody standing in a small recording booth, presumably in a studio, but maybe because of COVID, he did it at home. Who knows? Wearing a pair of like the jeans you wear around the house and like a flannel shirt, and then just getting that guttural scream like that goes on forever.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really does.
It's a long, oh God, it's so sad.
It is.
But it's so well done.
It is. So speaking of voice work, Katie Sackhoff, who's on Mandalorian and has done a million things that I love, she talked about the difference between voice work and acting in a body. And basically the quick thing I will say is that voice work, you can, like you said, you can wear whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. So in order to get a performance that you need to get, you can be doing weird things with your body that the camera will never capture. So yeah, I'm very curious what he was doing, what Bradley Cooper was doing to get that performance, because it is incredible. I mean, yeah, the voice work that he's doing is just exceptional.
I mean, and the thing about it that's so amazing, and just in that specific moment, is you're caught up in the scene, and these movies are so full of artifice by their design that, like, I almost forget for a moment, which is about as close as you can get in a movie like this. I almost forget that this is an actor, recording lines 2 inches from a microphone, from a really good microphone. And also, I wonder how many times he had to do that in the same day, because, ouch, I mean, everyone's got a larynx that you got to take care of. So,
very, very true.
Yeah. It's good. It's good show. Probably Winter Soldier or this one as best Marvel movie. I don't know. I'd say this one just because I haven't seen Winter Soldier probably more. I think I've seen it twice, and the second time I saw it was like a year after it came out. So I haven't seen it in, 15 years? I have no idea how long the Marvel fucking thing is. 2008, that's when Iron Man was. So it's a total of 15 years. So let's say 2012. I haven't seen it in 10 years, 11 years.
I've never seen it, so there we are. But that's one of the two I have not seen, so I'm going to say this is the best. But also the ending for all the other characters is really sad. And what I think is interesting is that nobody dies. And yet this is the saddest one. And then at the end, they all go their separate ways. And Gamora and Peter have this moment because he keeps wanting her to be like the old Gamora, and she's not. And she keeps telling him, I'm not her. I'm not her. And then they have this moment where she's been hanging around with them this whole mission. And she says, I bet we were a lot of fun together. And he's like, yeah, we were. And it was like this, it's this moment that just guts me. It's so sad, but it's like this sweet moment between them. And it's like she's kind of giving him what he's looking for in like a very generous way, which is so lovely, even though she's kind of an asshole character now, and probably was before, since as we learn in the second one, Nebula was not the, evil villain. Gamora was really the tougher one. But anyway, and like they all like kind of splinter, and Nebula becomes the leader of Nowhere, and then Rocket becomes the leader of the New Guardians, and it's just, and then Mantis goes off by herself to find herself, and it's like, it's just
right.
Yeah, it's just really sad. So the whole time it's like this gutting movie, this wrenching movie, so sad, so emotional, and then at the end it's like, oh, we're all going our separate ways, which is also sad because goodbyes are sad.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I should also mention that it was interesting. One of the sort of tangents in this is how Gamora keeps getting increasingly angry that even though all Groot says is "I am Groot," that everybody can understand him, kind of like Chewbacca and Han Solo. And she's just like, you guys are just like saying what you think that you want to hear. And at the end, he just says to her, "I am Groot." And she's like, "Thanks. I was really thinking." And she's like, and she realizes that she understands him now. I don't know what she says to him in return, but she says it instantly. And I was like, and then, of course, I guess maybe in an homage to the Fast and Furious series, at the end of the movie, Groot does say, "I love you guys," to everybody. But
Family.
yeah,
It's all about family.
that's what it made me think of.
I love that. But that, thinking about the notion of family too, and we haven't talked about that in this long conversation we've had about this movie. In addition to all the things that I love, I do love that this movie is also, as much as it's dealing, with trauma and past pain, it's also dealing with found family and that family doesn't have to be what you're born into. It's who you choose. And, I love that for various reasons. And yeah, it's such a lovely message. It's such a bittersweet, but lovely, wonderful message that in this fucked up world, we can find our people, who love us no matter what. And it's, this movie. I can't wait to see it again. It's so good. I can't believe how good it is. It's so good.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to see it again. God damn it.
Me too.
Well, I mean, I was already interested in seeing this movie, and I'd seen some kind of mixed reviews floating around there. So I'm very excited that you both really loved this movie, and of course, you made it sound very interesting. So,
yeah,
looking forward to seeing it.
I don't know what those mixed reviews are yapping about, but
yeah,
I don't agree with them. No, I can't say I haven't read them, but
yeah. Oh my God! And one other moment that's really horrific and sad is when they find like the footage of I don't know how much of Rocket's life it is, but they have images of what his life has been like before he met them, and one of them says is like, "Well, I can see why he never told us about this," and that's when Nebula's like, she's like, "This is worse than when my father removed my eyes while I was like wide awake."
Oh, I know.
And it's just like, then this must be pretty bad.
Yeah. Ugh.
Any spray. On that happy note, You Can Be a Jehovah's Witness. What is that movie called? You can
live forever.
You can live forever.
Right. But who wants to live forever, according to Freddie Mercury?
Yeah. You can live forever. Yay, nay, what do we say?
Yeah, it's a yay.
I'd definitely say yay.
Alrighty, that is out in theaters and will soon be out on demand. I think, Megan, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to. I think this is an enthusiastic yay from you for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, with, of course, the caveat, if you don't want to watch animal torture, maybe give it a pass, but...
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that because somebody asked me on Twitter. They're like, where does this happen in the movie so I can avoid those scenes? And I'm like, no, you really can't. It's happening right from the start and it's woven all throughout. But yes, so definitely if you cannot handle those scenes, do not watch this. But I don't want to be like, but other than that, but yeah, no, I highly, highly recommend this. Excellent, excellent film. This might be in my top 10 films of the year. Like that's how good we're talking about.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I have lots of quibbles with its production design and camera work, but...
Oh, you do? Interesting.
I do, yeah. I got to tell you, the whole David Cronenberg thing, that's all I was thinking about. All I was thinking about was Videodrome and Naked Lunch and just like... and Existenz and just like, I can't fucking believe that they hired David Cronenberg to be their production designer for these sequences, which they didn't do. But
see, I liked the production design. I thought it was great.
Oh my God, I just thought it was so gross. Not everything, but I just like that kind of like walking through. I'm playing a video game right now where you're like walking through pulsating like human matter, and it's just like, I don't really think I want to play this game anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So,
oh no, it's gross. Like it's full on body horror. But no, I liked it.
But I would say this is an enthusiastic C for me also, and no secret, it's out now. Yay! Today. Well, I guess Thursday midnight screenings or whatever I don't know, they do that shit now. By the way, I saw it in an IMAX screen. I don't know whether that would make a difference, whether you see it in like the Dolby Atmos or the IMAX screen. I know it wasn't shot for IMAX particularly, but whatever.
It looked good in IMAX.
Yeah, it was fine. And that does it for this week of Spoiler Piece Theater. Before we thank our awesome editor, Otto Klammer, which I'm going to in just a moment, I want to thank our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Thank you for being a sponsor piece patron. Yay!
Woo!
And next, we want to thank our awesome editor, Otto Klammer. So yeah, it's getting to it. It's going to get 2 thank yous this week. Thank you for taking all the heavy lifting away from us and making us sound great every week, Otto. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yay, thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
We already told you how we feel about the movies. So as far as the podcast goes, you can find it anywhere. So go and find it anywhere. You can look at our website, that's spoilerpiece.com. If you want to visit us on social media and send us notes, we're Spoiler Piece Theater on Facebook, and we're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you'd like to email us, because I think there are philosophical debates to be had about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and You Can Live Forever, and the Freddie Mercury version too. You can email us at spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
And leave us a voicemail. We would like to know, hey, what do you think of voice acting versus the whole body acting? I don't even know what to call it. Acting versus voice acting. That's a different discussion for a different time. If you like the show, please rate and review us by going to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece. You can also rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out a lot, gets the word out, etc., etc. And if you really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. This week, we discussed the 1998 feminist progressive fairy tale update Ever After starring Drew Barrymore. We had a lot of fun having that conversation. It was a patron's pick. It's over on our Patreon, patreon.com/spoilerpiece. It's $5 a month, and you get access to more than 300 bonus episodes. Yay! And we had a great conversation. We always have so much fun doing those because we can like take a little bit longer, have some more breathing space. It's a good time. And that's it. My name is Dave Riedel. I write for the Chicago Reader. I yap about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Dave Sees Movies.
My name is Evan Crean. I'm co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I, too, am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter at OpinionSWorld or on Instagram and Letterboxd at TheOpinionS.
That's it for the show. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.